Big Friday huddle coming your way. Nate's top 5 hot topics. Matty Nix, the coach of the Adelaide Crows, to join us. Dane Swan to join us as well to talk about the Pies, boxing and all sorts of other things. Packed show as we lead up to the Crows taking on Geelong. Big game of footy. Cats having a win against the Saints. The Crows not quite getting it done against the Gold Coast Suns. I look around at Da Boys in the house, and the captain of Da Boys, Luke Darc, is here. Hello to you, Guru.
Very nice to be here, Howie. As always, on a Friday. Good game this one. The Crows and the Cats. Saw the Cats live last week. They are going to be hard to beat. As always, Adelaide at home. Very good. Maybe a small personal hygiene issue that we need to raise here, Howie. Correct. At some point in time, there's some sort of common basic hygiene things that normally most people do, Chief. But
I would have thought it's the minimum courtesy required when you work in a studio.
Well, the Chief is here with what looks to be a brand new hat, Chief. Your little
It's an old one,
Howie.
Howie.
Is it? What brand's that?
It's brand's on the back.
What is it,
if you had
Nathan?
done your research.
What type of hat is it?
Looks like a black crow hat. It's red,
Atticus.
and he's got
Atticus.
a black crow on it.
And he's got
Where'd
a
you-
nice
where'd you-
white thong on.
Where'd you park your skateboard?
Just out the front. Why do you
Given
say
you
that?
got your cap on backwards and a plain black T-shirt.
Yeah.
And,
I'm
Chief, you're a
wearing-
collector of hats, aren't you?
Yeah, you are. How many hats
I've
would you
got.
have?
I would have 40 or 50 of them at home.
Really? Right.
Some of them just sit at the bottom for actually. This one I just found on the floor.
Oh,
Do
it
you
looks
find,
good.
Chief, when you get a good one that's worn in well,
Yep.
you have a favourite?
Like
Yeah.
a couch.
100%.
Your
100%.
big ass on that
Everyone
couch.
has a favourite spot on the couch. Tell me you don't.
It's just that nobody else sits on yours, so there's only one spot.
Yeah, it's great.
Damien Barrett is here as well, looking sharp with a beard, looking amazing. Hello to you, Damien.
Hello to you too, Howard. And I know you haven't got your skateboard here today because
No.
I saw the big Ranger in the car park.
you see the Bowenheads Brewing
I
sign
did
across
see
the
that
side
too.
of it?
It's a huge car
Yeah,
you've
it's
got.
taking off the brewery as well. Now, you brought up something about personal hygiene that I'm not
Well,
across.
Chief and I were just looking up at the screen, and Nate is often staring at himself because he does his show, and he's wearing a brown shirt. I don't own a brown shirt, so
It's a
that
beigey brown.
beigey
shirt,
brown, yeah.
Tan.
Tan.
Ecru.
So it's not a shirt it's not a white shirt. So you think he could have worn another one? And we looked up and we went, when did you record that show, Nate? He said yesterday, wearing same shirt. And he said, yeah, I've worn it 2 days in a row. And you're sweating up a bit.
Oh,
at the
I don't
moment.
sweat. I perspire, Duke.
You just lift your purse box.
Yeah, and I did wear it yesterday, but I had to do some filming late this afternoon. It was still in the car, hanging up. It had been pressed, so
Stays in the
I
car.
thought I'd put it back on, and here we are. I didn't have time to put another T-shirt on. I got one in the car, but I didn't feel like it was a big issue.
It is.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It
Oh.
is.
Quite a small studio, Nathan.
We've
called you out on this.
Hygiene on the tennis
Wafting.
court.
Wafting.
You snort out of your nose, and there's
That's a-
goobers everywhere on the tennis court.
That's like the same as a footy field. It's sporting, mate, where you're meant to
Yeah, but not
get rid of
there's
fluids.
grass. You're not meant to do it on the hard court.
Damien,
That's
big game
good.
of footy last night. Are we talking about the positives of the Saints before we get into a couple of other things we need to discuss, or are we talking about the negatives for the Pies? That's up to you.
We'll probably, unfortunately, for the St Kilda Footy Club, talk about some negative to come out of the positive win. The negative being the diagnosis officially today of the Mason Wood situation. We knew he was concussed. We knew there was a collarbone/shoulder issue, and that aspect of it is going to keep him out for a minimum of 6 weeks. But the news that's just dropped in the last few moments, that we did notice Liam Henry limp off the ground, and even the celebrations in the rooms post-match, he was hobbling. Well, a high-grade hamstring is the diagnosis for him. First game for the Saints, I thought or second game, had a really good impact, and now he's going to miss time. They're saying 6 weeks, but the diagnosis being high-grade, Chief, it may well be longer, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame for the Saints because they found a couple of little patches of footy last night to get the job done. They're by no means a finished product, and I think it was an error-riddled match at best when you have a look at the overall product. But I think they're going somewhere, St Kilda. How quick they get there, I'm not quite sure, but he certainly gave them. One thing you can notice, I think it sticks out, is that Ross Lyon wants leg speed.
Pace.
And they've got plenty of it in there.
Jones was good when he came on as well.
The Pies, you two were both at the footy last night. I noticed you call a lot of extra games, you two. Ewan doesn't ring me, but that's a whole nother issue for another day. I've been like
That's
shunted.
because you earn too much.
No, I've been shunted
you
to
earn
the back.
US dollars, so Ewan's like, well, I'm not going to get him in because I
And
have
you
to pay
now
him
no
too
longer
much.
want to travel to call games, which
Travel to the MCG? I'd be happy to go to the MCG.
He
last
also
night.
can't rely on you because you're taking off to the IPL
That's
again,
not
aren't you?
true. Anyway, that's a side
You're,
issue.
you're a
You just-
non-traveller, which hurts us.
Put your
I'm
hand
not-
up.
Because when
Damo,
you don't
Howie.
travel, we have to do this, and we get half rate, some of us.
Correct.
Not me.
Selfish.
No, we understand that.
What do you think of the Pies last night? Is it time to get concerned, or just a bump in the road for you two that were there taking Triple M through it?
Just a reminder of just how hard and even and competitive this sport is. Collingwood were remarkable last year. They were going to get 25 points down and you just say, wait to watch them come home. And yeah, the rest of the competition catches up quick for mine. You go to school on the reigning premiers, you try and pick them apart. we are brilliant in Australia. We like people who have a little bit of success, and then we try everything we can to knock them down. And I think they'll be fine in the long term. I think they're really well coached, and they've got enough, in the tank to win enough games this year. But
to make finals, you're talking about.
well, it's a long way back, but I think you don't lose what they've had over the last 2 or 3. They've put together 2 outstanding seasons.
Yeah, but I reckon they have
But
done.
again, they have lost to 2 very good sides. So
Yeah.
Sydney and the Giants at the moment, you'd probably say the favourites to win the premiership. And they've hit a nice rock-hard St Kilda last night, who played probably the best game we've seen St Kilda play in 24 months. So, yes, they shouldn't have lost that game. They're just off defensively at the moment. So what they were doing last year, they were hard to score against. They were hard to move the ball against. And the first 3 games, they've allowed clubs to move the ball. They've allowed the clubs to get multiple possessions. And they just aren't 100% on their defensive aspects at the moment. I think they can get that back. But it probably starts with Darcy Moore, who's been off himself.
Right off. Chief, you covered it for Fox Footy, and you made your comments post-match as well. For those people who didn't hear that, you had a critical take.
Oh, yeah, I think they've got some legitimate problems. They were out-muscled. St Kilda were harder and stronger and more ferocious at the ball. The concern for me, and I think they've got some problems now, Collingwood, they'll win games, no doubt. But will it be enough to make the finals? I'm not sure. But they've got the thing that worries me about Collingwood is there's not a heap of players waiting to come back in.
No.
I mean, they've got a pretty fit list. McStay, we know, has got a long-term injury, but there's not much outside of that. So this is what they've got to work with, and they look slow. They look really, really slow.
We're going to be talking about concussion in the next segment because I've got a lot of questions for you as footballers and you as a media man and where the game is going. But also this year, the big date, 14th of August, is the day our man turned 60. And he's very keen to have an elongated celebration throughout the year on the show to make it
Now,
a lot
Mark,
about
we
him,
have
Nathan.
discussed this.
Yes.
With the 2
I
dogs.
haven't celebrated any of the last 40 birthdays, so why would I celebrate this one?
Because this
and
is a big
if I
one.
was to entertain some sort of celebration,
There he goes.
I like this.
you're so far down on the list. There would have to be 150 pullouts before I even stumbled upon your number.
Where would I'd be closer to
Oh,
an
you're there,
invitation.
Warren.
Thank you,
We'll have a
Chief.
beer.
What about
Thank you.
Erica? Does Erica get a run?
Mate, she's in the top 10.
Right. But I'm not in the top 150.
That's sort of common theme for you, Howie.
Yeah, no, it
most
is.
invites.
It
isn't
is
it?
the
We all
best
want
part.
Erica to come.
Invite
and
Erica, but not Mark.
We
yeah.
don't really want
Well,
you
do
to
we
turn
need a
up.
really big downer on the night? Someone that sits in the corner and has one beer,
Oh, we
a
can't have a
light.
drink.
So, what
Oh my
we've
God,
found
early.
as part of this celebration...
Challenges people to arm wrestles.
I'm on the celebrate Chief's 60th. I know
Okay.
he's a reluctant
No,
celebrator,
not
but I
doing
think
it.
And he's 2 dogs.
I think this
So,
is
you know, in the footy record in the day, you would have a player profile. It's been sent to me, Chiefs player profile in the footy record from 1987. So I'm going to ask you some questions. I want you to throw me some
87.
answers, then we'll ask Chief what he thinks. So this is 1987.
I'm
Jason
22
Dunstall's
years
player
old, just a
profile.
young kid down
Yeah.
here in the big
this is going to be
smoke.
good.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
not
going to be good.
What do we think Chief lists as his occupation? Any ideas?
Chief's occupation.
He's a footballer.
A lawyer.
No, neither of those things.
Because he was a trained lawyer, Chief, weren't you?
No. I studied for
Studied
I
law.
had
Chief?
studied a number of things, but then
Yeah.
I went and worked.
So where do you think in 1987, were you doing, Chief?
I was at TNT.
You were. What was your title?
I was in the trainee management program.
Trainee executive at TNT, our
Oh,
man.
my
So
Correct.
TNT that blows stuff up.
No,
Oh, my goodness.
I think it's the couriers, not the explosives. It's
could've
not the
worked in
road
the
running.
explosive
Right?
decision.
Transport company.
could've
Because
get out
Graham
more,
John
Duke.
was running it back then,
Right.
former South Melbourne
Okay.
man, who was
and
very
director
good.
of the commission, AFL
Yeah,
commissioner.
correct.
Yeah.
And he was good friends with Alan Jeans, and a lot of AFL players were given a chance to be sales execs.
So what did your
there.
role entail?
Well, I ended up working for them for 8 years as a divisional manager.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Organising trucks and transport, Chief, around
What did you
town.
study, Chief? Did you say?
I studied a bit of law. I did a bit of human movement, a bit of applied science.
And
I
got
was
through all those courses?
No. I kept. So I was becoming a professional student.
What
I
about-
had no idea what I wanted to do.
What about your schooling, Chief? You've started at the Church of England Grammar School,
That
which
was high
sounds
school.
very, very nice.
Church is one
and
of
you've
the big
ended up
GPS
at the
schools up there.
Footscray Tech.
Well, it's now Footscray University, but it was Footscray Institute of Technology.
All right,
back then.
1987. What type of car do we think the Chief
it the
was
brown
rolling
Volvo
with?
back
No,
then,
it wasn't the
Howie?
Volvo. It wasn't the Volvo.
The Stinger?
No. What do you think?
1987.
No, 1987. No, it wasn't a Datsun. What do you think you were going with, Chief?
I know what it is.
What?
I've seen the.
Okay, what was it?
It was a car that I actually won
Right.
in the previous season's night series.
What'd
So
you win it
Nissan
for?
Vitara.
It wasn't Nissan
What
Vitara.
did you win that for?
Not best on.
They're giving out cars for best on.
Yeah.
In the night series, that's
You
we're
can't get a
talking
car
about.
for a year these days.
Remember they used to have them on the ground and then you drive them around like the cricketers.
So what do we think Chief's favourite food was in 1987, Darc? This is your area of expertise.
It'd be big spaghetti bolognese.
Close.
Close.
Lasagna,
Yeah.
Like Garfield.
lasagna, and chicken.
Chicken.
Favourite drink?
Chief in that era, and he denies this. I'm told that Chief used to order a family pizza for himself, roll it up like a souvlaki and eat it rolled up. Now, Chief, is that?
No, it's a bit of an exaggeration. But lasagna is still one of my favourite foods today. And I do eat a lot of chicken.
What was your favourite drink in the day, Chief? Which is very different from the modern footballer to list this in your player profile.
I would hope it's just beer.
4X.
Yeah. Or the old barbed wire.
Favourite group in 1987, Chiefy?
Oh, see, I grew up with a lot of Aussie bands. Dragon would have to be in
Yes,
there.
Dragon is listed, and this caught my eye. This is your area of expertise, Nathan. His favourite night spot in 1987.
Your favourite
JD's
night
bar.
spot, Chief? Where was it?
Somewhere in town.
Mm,
Where'd we go back then? Underground?
Nope.
Grain store.
Grain
Oh,
store.
What
yeah.
was the grain store,
What
Chief?
used to happen there, Chiefy?
Good memories there,
It was
Chief.
just a good joint. You could get in and
Drink cards?
drink cards, yeah.
It's a good choice.
What about your favourite TV show?
Your favourite TV show? One probably not really relevant these days, but give it a go. I'll let Nate take care of this
I
one.
can't remember.
Get smart.
Elf?
Alf?
Really?
Elf.
He must have burst onto the scene.
Put Alf on his player profile.
Most admired
I think I was
sportsman.
taking the P155 then.
Most admired sportsman for Chief.
Greg Chappell, surely.
Yes, Greg Chappell and Greg Norman.
Yep.
This one just grabbed me. Harry.
What's that?
Favourite actor and actress. He's gone Tom Cruise, Bill Cosby, Michael J. Fox, and then full stop. No favourite actress.
Well, I'm 22. All I did back then was watch action movies, and they hadn't really taken over by then.
You couldn't use your
Didn't want to
imagination.
put a
and just-
woman into
Like who back then? What movies?
Meryl Streep.
Well, who- the
Goldie
lady
Hawn.
Top Gun.
Marilyn Monroe.
The lady in Top Gun was
Yeah, Kelly McGillis that
outstanding.
went on to do
Yeah.
what? Witness and nothing else.
And Top Gun 2. She got another run in Top Gun. Now, nicknames. This is
How
one
did
I
she get
didn't
around in
understand.
Top Gun too?
She's the main actress in Top Gun 2.
No, she's not.
She is, alongside Tom Cruise.
You're an imbecile.
Who is it then?
Are you serious?
Is it not the same lady?
No.
Oh, who is it?
Oh my God. It's the
The
one
wife of
from
the
Beautiful
singer.
Mind.
Oh no, I got the other one.
I just
the
presumed they
girl
got
that was
the
the
same
wife of Russell
actress.
Crowe in A Beautiful Mind.
Jennifer. No.
Connolly?
Jennifer Connolly.
It is
Thank you.
Jennifer
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nicknames.
There we got there.
Why were you called Beetle?
Greenie gave me. Russell Green said I had a beetle haircut when I got to the club.
As in like the Beatles.
Yeah.
And,
Bunghole.
No, and
Were you bunghole back then?
Dunnell?
Dunnell.
I don't know. People just couldn't understand the name. So
Right.
you know.
Okay. Well,
That
that's
wasted a few minutes of everyone's time.
no, that was
Well,
nice.
didn't it?
We got
I'll
a
tell
few
you
nice
what.
stories
It's
out of that.
exciting stuff.
Hey, Mark.
Instagram,
You've had a big-
Instagram stories at Triple M Football. You can see Chiefs player profile.
You've had a big week.
Oh, you got
And
something
I know,
funny.
I know you're happy with how your week's gone, but how did the week start? Because I felt like you let yourself down last week.
Ooh.
And then you made the papers. So when you open up the paper and
he
you've
brought
got
us
a
all down.
headline with your head having a go at Liam Pickering, and then in
Which you all
print,
G'd me up to do.
everything in print looks a lot worse.
It does.
The
Now,
written
I
word
wanna
in that
ask-
conversation, how he was a whole lot worse
It
than the
was.
spoken.
It was.
So it was front of the Herald Sun website. Now, was there a cover off at any point this week?
No, but deep
Hang
down
on. Look at everyone in the eye. Did you make contact with Liam Pickering this week?
No.
Well, before we
But I
carry
felt
on,
I should have.
I missed
felt
the
I
headline.
should've.
So what did it say, and what did he say
I
in
don't
the
think
article?
I felt bad.
Well, it was what he said on our show last week about Liam Pickering being basically a
Oh,
Sheffield Shield player.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
on.
yeah.
You're on.
So
you
they print-
commented on the WhatsApp in the group.
they,
yeah.
they printed that in the paper, did they?
Yes.
Doesn't look good in print, does it?
around with
There's
that.
a light-hearted. We're having a bit of banter.
I
but
thought
when
it was
it's written in
offensive to
print,
Shield players.
Did you make contact with anyone who works with pickers?
I text Hutchie.
Ah, okay.
I text Hutchie. What did I say?
Covered
to
off,
Hutchie?
did you?
No, I don't. It wasn't.
Just
I didn't.
sort
I
of
didn't
cover
feel
off.
good about it. I wish I hadn't done it. To be completely honest with you, I'll be honest with you.
Why
But,
did you text Pickers?
what did I say,
The
Hutchie?
comments were about Pickers.
No, because he would take the right
Because
way.
Pickers doesn't pay him. Hutchie does.
I said, surely Pickers would have been happy to be compared to Jamie Cox. And Hutchie said, yep, loved it, enjoyed it. But I went away from a game plan, and I wish I hadn't said it, Nate.
Because you missed the nice guy.
Well, I am. But you blokes G'd me up to have a bit of a crack.
Didn't G you up.
No,
No,
you
we're not
said,
the
I'll
one.
take this.
table.
We didn't ask you to
Produce
do
a
it.
new bowl
You
and
actually
let
said,
me go for
get
it.
this on the running sheet.
Did
not
anyone
say
at
that,
any of your employers say, Mark, that's not you?
I got actually a lot of positive feedback about the comments, Nathan. But again, looking back, I
he's
wish I
doubling
hadn't
down.
said that.
Yes.
I wish I
got
hadn't
to
said
tell
that.
you, that nice guy facade's starting to wear thin.
Well,
Yeah.
The lack of humility is really starting to seep through with Howard now,
I
isn't
did
it?
question myself, Nathan, and I realised that everything we say on the radio, which I should have realised, gets printed, and it looks very different in print. Yes.
It did look
You've
a lot
only worked
harsher
that out
than.
now, have you?
You were
Yes.
rattled, weren't you?
Well, no, I just didn't.
What did he say?
I
to you?
shouldn't have said
Did
it.
she say, Marky, that's not you?
She just opened the article on the Herald Sun and left her iPad open on the table.
Was
and
she
just-
as disappointed the night that you lost the arm wrestle to me? Because she felt like she was going to leave you that night.
I think we need to get to a break. Yeah, we need to get to a break. But I wish I hadn't said it, Nathan. I'm being completely honest with you. Concussion is a massive conversation in the game at the moment, General. It's come into my world a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. So I have some questions for you. We often have a laugh on this show, Damo, but this is definitely not a laughing matter. So just
How's it coming to your world, Howie?
Well, I'll explain to you later on.
All right.
But right from the start, Nath, how many times playing professional sport would you have been knocked out?
In the AFL, twice, completely
twice.
knocked out.
What about you, Chief?
I never lost consciousness.
Yep.
But lots of hits to the head. Obviously had a fractured skull, so I can't say I was never concussed, but I was never. I never suffered a loss of consciousness.
What about you, Das?
Knocked out, loss of consciousness once, but yeah, a couple other times, yeah.
Chief, we'll start with you. Because you're older, I'm not having a go at you there. It's obviously you're a touch older, so it's probably more relevant and prevalent. Do you have concerns about what happened to you playing football in your day-to-day life now, or it is what it is and on you go and you don't have any...
No, I'm okay. Memory is probably not what it is, but a little bit of that's old age, a little bit of that's probably hits to the head. But aside from that, I've enjoyed my life, so I have no regrets or any beef to take up with anyone.
Nath, you're about to step into a boxing ring, which
Yep.
you've been having a laugh about. I'm sure you've discussed this with Christina. I'm sure your kids are asking questions. You've been knocked out a couple of times playing footy. Is it on your mind?
Not really, because I feel like I'm going okay. My brain is good. Had a scan actually last week. We had to get cleared to do the boxing and completely normal. But I know that there are a lot of people out there doing it hard. Like Chief, I feel like I'm healthy, and I'm more aware of it now for my kids because I've been educated about it. So knocked out twice, came back on the ground after being completely knocked out. That doesn't happen these days. I wouldn't allow my kids to do it, but we probably didn't know as much 15 years ago. But right now, if I saw one of my kids, get a knock to the head, I'd probably ask him to come straight off the ground.
Yeah, no concern, Howie, at all. I understood the risks in our era, and
Yep.
I think we signed up knowing that you played a combat sport, and that was going to come with potential hazards later in life on a range of different things, and that one's probably at the lower end of the scale. There's a lot of us that end up probably getting joints replaced and all of that at some point in time, but you do it all again in a heartbeat. It's such a great opportunity to do it, and that's never lost on me.
But all our attitudes are relevant to the time that we played.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can't judge yesteryear by today's standards.
Yeah, this is a question for you all. Last night on the telly, Mason Wood, and Chief, you and I
Yep.
had a look at it
Yeah.
again. Mason Wood threw himself back with the fly of the ball. He's ended up with multiple fractures, but more concerningly, he was badly knocked out. He was convulsing on the ground, which was, Damo, really confronting to
Yep.
watch.
And that was broadcast.
Yeah, it was broadcast.
I
And
think inadvertently, maybe, but
Yeah,
that's just my take on that.
there's a
Yeah.
lot going on at that stage. So the language around it, and it's not the people involved, but the language around it on the television last night was, to paraphrase, Mason Wood in the past hasn't been known as a player that put his body on the line. But in this act, what he did was courageous, and it'll earn respect of his teammates. So the act was lauded. So I'm sitting at home last night with my 12-year-old son, who's about to play under 14 football as a bottom age, as a youngster. He's watching this, and what Mason's done is being lauded. What type of language do we need to use around situations like that in the media when we're broadcasting sport, Damo? Where do you sit on
Well,
this?
I didn't catch that commentary. I'm assuming you won't want to say who that
No,
was.
because it's not pointing out that anything did anything wrong. Just as a father,
Yeah.
I'm watching and
Yeah.
listening, and I'm looking at what my
So
young
how is it
fella's hearing.
lauded?
Well, it'll earn the
In what-
respect of his teammates.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, again, I'm the non-player in this conversation, as you are, Howie, but I've long had an issue with that being lauded, that type of act. And I, even when I was at the paper, and again, I'm not washing my hands of these stories, I'm sure I've done them, I have done them, but I've always had an issue with the person who did go take a short one and put his hand up and not go for the ball, being absolutely castigated in commentary. So to me, for you to hear you say that was said last night, I'm not comfortable with that as a member of the media, and I would hope that as part of this change in what we're dealing with as an industry and the legal cases that are coming to us, there's 100 people on a class action at the moment. There's individual cases outside of that. I think it's all part of the change.
There was an article done many years ago with a Geelong player, and I'll name him, but I maybe I won't in case I get it wrong. But a Geelong player who won a couple of premierships had a moment where he didn't go back with
Josh Hunt.
There you go. Yeah, so you remember it well. But there was a double-page spread. I'll never forget it. It was frame by frame by frame of him, and effectively you may as well have written "coward" on the headline. It was that, and it was a staggering thing to whoever wrote it. I can't remember, but I remember thinking the next week Tom Lonergan went out and did something that was crazy and lost a kidney. And it was no way you can't have a direct correlation between, I don't want to be framed to be cowardly. So I think you're right. I think what Mason Wood did has enormous courage attached to it, but I don't think it was a great play. I don't think he needed to do that. I think there's smarter ways to be able to get back into position. And so we do admire courage, but there's skill in actually being taught of how to protect yourself and when to go. And I think that is a good conversation.
Can I ask you a question, Howie?
Yep.
So we laud, say, at the SCG, Nick Rewalt going back with the flight and the Jonathan Brown going back with the flight, and we promote that and we say, how good's that? It's etched in our memories. It's played over and over again. So are you saying that we shouldn't be saying that is amazing?
I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you as professional athletes where it sits. So I'm asking you as someone that doesn't know, if Mason Wood doesn't go back with the flight, for example, take Mason out of it. If a player doesn't go back with the flight, should it be brought up in the review, and what does it do to the fabric of a professional football team, which you three have played in, if you don't put your body on the line in that situation? Like, what does it do to the fabric of the team? Because this is something Damien and I don't understand. Like, from the outside looking in, it's like, well, why would Mason do that? He's taken himself out of the game. He can't play any further in the game.
Just before you guys answer it, I feel that attitude has changed from some coaches. I'm not going to name names here, but I got the fortune of speaking to quite a few coaches in the off-season. Some really hard men and people involved in footy, I feel that they are softening as a collective as well as to what they demand their players to do in certain situations. So I just want to throw that out there before you...
I agree. I think there's different kinds of courage. And when I think, personally, if I'm critical of a player, it's because he hasn't bodylined the ball or he's reached in with a hand when he could have put his body across or didn't really want to lay the tackle, didn't want the physical contact. I think those acts are completely different to what we now call crazy courage, is going back with the flight when you don't know what's coming, leaving yourself completely exposed. I agree with Duke wholeheartedly. Some do it a lot better than others, and those that can't do it well shouldn't do it. And I also agree with you, Damo. I know there are coaches that are now saying, hey, we don't need to lose anyone like this. This is just ridiculous. I don't expect any player to go back with the flight like that, risking life and limb, because this bottom line, it's probably not going to achieve anything for us anyway. So in the end, it was two teammates that collided. Yeah. So I would think if you're in a position as a player, and if I was a coach, I would instruct them, hey, if you see a teammate there, I don't want you going back at all. That shouldn't even cross your mind. If there's no teammate there and it's just a single opposition player, well, then you might. But let's work out how we're going to do it and what the best way is so that you can do it safely.
And I mentioned at the start, this is in my wheelhouse at the moment. So I'll give you when you see one of those aeroplane crash shows and unfortunately 137 things have to go wrong to bring the plane down in a row. So I was playing a cricket semi-final, to be serious, the other day. The other team were 9 down. They needed 8 to win Darc when they lost their 9th wicket. And a 14-year-old came out to bat. It's men's senior cricket. When they needed 4 to win, our opening bowler hit this kid in the helmet with a bouncer. Right on the badge, right? They needed 4 to win. It put a dent in the helmet. I'm standing at mid-off and...
Intentionally bowled?
Well, yeah, it's a bouncer, but that's part of the game. Okay?
Are you happy with that to start with? A 14-year-old number 11 batter getting bounced by your opening bowler?
Yeah, I think I am.
You think that's okay?
I think that's part of the game. If you're going to go out there.
Community cricket?
Well, it's men's cricket.
So I've got an issue with that even now.
That's an interesting
It's a different
point.
conversation. But yeah.
So it's an open. It's not an under 16. It's you're playing. It's men's cricket.
Yeah, it's men's cricket. And there's a 14-year-old.
I feel like if you're going to put yourself out there as a 14-year-old, you're going to probably cop a bouncer.
So he copped a bouncer.
But it's a lower grade isn't it?
Yeah, it's B-grade cricket, and this is the point I'm getting to. So he gets hit, right? And he's batting out there with a teammate who's batted really well and a senior player, and there's a dint in the helmet, okay? And they have to change the helmet. And I'm looking at the kid thinking, gee, he doesn't look that good. Now, if their player had said, nah, he's off, they would have lost, and Bowen Heads would have been in the grand final, right? I'm at mid-off. Every part of me does as a father. So if it had been my son up the other end, it's 12, I would have said, mate, you're done. We're going to forfeit the game here. We lose the game. I wanted to go and say that to their opposition, but how can you say that with a game being decided by 4 runs? Because it looks like you're trying to influence the result of the game. And this is why it's been on my mind, because I'm not sure yet in community sport, and as a dad who's going to have a son start playing under 14 football, I'm not sure we understand the seriousness of what can occur. So what do you do in a scenario like that?
I think junior footy, when you get exposed to that now, is very well educated now about concussion and getting players off, and there's medical experts around more often than there ever was before. But I'm going a step back. If I'm playing, community, I'm not bowling a bouncer at 14-year-old.
Correct.
I just can't.
agree.
I couldn't start the run up and think, for all the options that are at your disposal, that I've got a real issue
So
with
our
that.
opening bowler's 16, so he's a kid as well at this point. But regardless, it's I see. So and that's my question for you, because I'm about to go into under 14 football. Do you think? So it's been brought out to, I think it's 21 days now.
21 days is the AIS recommendations, which has been adopted by the AFL at the lower levels.
So I think as a father, which you are, and you've been through it, and you are, if my young fella is getting knocked out, I'm not letting him play for the rest of the season. But that's only my personal decision, because I've talked to footballers that have had all sorts of issues.
So it had to be someone on the batting side to say, young fella, you got to come off, because you're on the opposition. You can't do that because you're influencing
but
the game.
I felt sick on the ground looking at what had happened.
And Howie, take this comment the right way, because we can't. I'm not diminishing this in any way. Concussion's a real thing. It's a huge issue. We need to address it. We've come a long way. I think we've got lots and lots of safeguards around, and there's going to be more to play out on it. And we're still a long way to go down the path. So all these measures are right, but the joy, the benefit, the health associated with playing team sport and around AFL, if you put a graph together, risk versus reward, in my mind, the rewards for your kid going and playing and being out there is so far and above the risk that we have to have that conversation as well. Now, it's not for everyone. There'll be families that decide, or individuals that don't want to take that risk. But I think I'm worried that we're losing the balance of the conversation in this, because the kids on screens and on their algorithms on Instagram is more dangerous to me than playing under 14 footy.
We got to go. But I don't have the one more question for you, Chief. Sorry. So as a non-footballer, I don't have the understanding to say to my son, this is what you need to do. So, Chief, for all the parents out there that kids are going to start playing footy now, how do you go and get the footy and do what you're meant to do for your team, yet protect your head in simple terms? How do you do that?
There's no simple terms.
Right.
There's no simple terms. There is an inherent risk if you play a contact sport. We continue to legislate in terms of the rules and laws of the game to protect, but there's no 100% guaranteed protection. There's great debate over helmets. A lot of specialists will tell you they do nothing for you. Maybe it gives you a little bit of confidence if you're a young kid with a helmet on, but if you're going to play contact sport, there will be contact, and sometimes it's unfortunate, it's accidental, but there will be injuries as well. We can't avoid that fact.
And Howie, I know we're going way over time here, but you've opened up a pretty wide conversation here. Just talking about the combat nature of the sport, there was a club that was brought to the attention of the AFL that had 3 concussions before Christmas in its training. Now, that's not actual game style of training. That's actual normal training. So, and that was an issue for the AFL as well. So it's not just the actual playing of the sport as well. It's the training at the highest levels, which is causing the concern.
And Darc, you make a great point. And I didn't want to stand here and say we need to do this because of concussion. I don't understand what a professional environment is like. But as a father, it starts to come into your mind as to what's going to occur.
Did you bowl any more short balls to the kid?
No. Instructed no more bounces.
Yeah,
no more
they
bounces.
beamed him next up.
Did he change the helmet?
Yeah, he changed the helmet. He changed the helmet. Leroy, it is time for...
He's a self-proclaimed footy superstar.
I reckon I was probably the most influential player in the AFL.
He fears nothing and no one.
This is all off-air stuff that you're not allowed to talk about on air, but I've gone with it anyway.
And he sees the world a little differently.
Just watching a Komodo dragon eat a monkey.
This is Nathan Brown's Top 5.
Okay, you had your little media stoush last week with Pickers, so I thought let's
Thanks,
do
Nathan.
the top 5 media stoushes, and that combines players and media and all sorts of things. And I thought it'd be a bit lazy to go through all yours, Damo, because there's so many of them. But
There's
I
only
thought
one,
I'd just
Brownie.
run
There's
with
only one.
With an honourable mention for a clip from you, Damo.
It's hard living rent-free in that guy's head, Bill, at the moment.
So that was about Robbo. So you've had that one for a long time. And then, Duke, I thought I'd give you an honourable mention too, because you gave the former Premier a clip as well.
And I think absolutely fair from the Premier, if you're a 4-year-old. And like you do, you teach your kids when they're 4 or 5 and you say to them, did you take that out of the fridge? And they say, no, it was my brother that did it. My older brother told me to do it. And you go, no, what you do is you actually take responsibility. And when you're 4, you learn to take accountability and you go, you don't blame someone else.
That's the Duke we love.
Yeah.
That's an
You were
honourable
talking about
mention.
the
Well
state
done.
budget at that stage, I think, which hasn't got any better.
Artificial
Okay,
intelligence.
at number 5. Now, Mike Sheehan was the godfather. Everyone loved him, but back in the day, he had some enemies.
He did.
And
Not many, but
it's come to my attention that Roger Merritt tried to fight Mike and threw a
actually,
couple of punches at him
in South Africa,
Cape Town.
actually, yes.
And the other one at a
had him upside
3AW
down in a pot plant.
and a 3AW Christmas party, the great Peter Dacos threw a punch at Mike Sheehan, allegedly, which we're not allowed to say, but apparently that happened. But that came from Mike.
Remember in the legal meeting when they said if you
Don't
use
say
the word
allegedly.
allegedly, it doesn't get you off the hook? I think that was defamation.
Have Mike cornered at one stage
think
as
he
well.
did,
I think.
yep.
I think it might be a longer list.
We
Now,
go with the truth defence on some
What
of
did
these.
Roger
Harry.
Merritt do?
Oh, that was,
There was a couple of
that was in
articles he wrote about him.
1998 in of all places, Cape Town.
Right.
Yeah, and it would have been a
That
long
would have been
build-up to
scary
it.
for Mike,
Yeah,
having Roger
going into the
unhappy.
98 season, which ended up being one where John Northey was removed as coach and Roger got the gig in an interim capacity initially. But yeah, I forget the origins of it, but it was fiery.
Now, as you get bigger and bigger, as Craig Hutchison has with his media empire, you do make a few enemies. And the former operator was a guy called Graham Mott, who said Craig Hutchison has turned a profitable radio station into a bottomless money pit by overpaying presenters and going on a wild spending spree.
Allegedly.
I fired Hutchie from 3AW in 2007. His performance on air was appalling. I got rid of him. So that was the former boss. And then your man, Hutchie, came back on your
fired back,
program
yeah.
and said, Hutchie said since leaving, Mott had become a consultant and hadn't been consulted on anything for 4 years and has asked an opinion on me. And then also David Schwartz has come back working at SEN.
They're back.
That's good.
It's money can speak 1,000 words
I
there.
think any
it-
boss that gets accused of overpaying presenters, good luck to them.
good
Should be
boss.
more of it, I reckon.
Okay, one of the great on-air stoushes is between two former players, Kane Corns and Tex Walker. I asked Kane today, I said, what started this massive feud that you've had? And he said, I wrote an article about him needing to be rested because he was going pretty ordinary. Then he bit back, and so I started going harder. So it was an innocent article, and then it becomes like this, where Tex has a go at Kane.
When you did the big freeze and you dressed up as a fireman, were you trying to be Kane Corns?
I'll tell you what, I wore that longer than he did.
He had another go at him as well.
No, I can't say it on air.
What? Oh, what you really want
No,
to
I
say?
can't stand him.
Just write it on a bit of paper for me. and I'll
Not many
say it
other
for you.
people can either.
And then the response from Kane.
I'm more critical of the captain not standing up when things weren't going their way. You wouldn't see Joel Selwood do that. You wouldn't have seen Jonathan Brown or Wayne Carey or Matthew Lloyd as captains of big footy clubs do that in the past, and he won't sleep well this week.
I think that's one of the best feuds in footy at the moment. And they just keep going
Is that still
backwards
going,
and
is it?
forwards. Yeah, it keeps going. Number 2, now this is Patrick Keane and Mick Warner, another man that you've had a disagreement with. So this runs deep, and
Patrick
Warner
Keane
has
being?
been Patrick Keane from the AFL, been very critical of the boys' club, I guess, in at the AFL. And I heard that maybe there was...
Allegedly.
Allegedly, one of the entries of recommendation to the media awards might have found its way into the bin in at the AFL of Michael Warner's.
So you're saying...
Now, you should have checked this legally.
You're
Granny.
saying Michael
I'm
Warner...
not saying that at all, Howard.
I think that's
No,
what you're
I'm
saying.
You're
not.
saying-
What
You
are you
just
saying?
I'm saying that allegedly.
No, you should have run this by someone before you went with it.
Okay,
What are you
that's
saying?
No, I'm not saying it. That's number 2. Okay, and at number one, it is still easily the best on-air, off-air meltdown. Here it is.
You shut up and listen instead of talking. Don't speak to me like that. Well, then I won't talk to you. Get out of the box. Will do. I will not work with someone like that. Get out of the box right now. Go on, nick off. Just throwing a whole tray of food on me. A whole tray. Nick off. I'm not working with those.
Shut up.
Get out.
But
That
little
wasn't a feud. That was one
but
incident.
what doesn't get played enough is the following week.
Apology?
This is the apology, which I'm not sure if it's an apology
No,
or
it
not,
wasn't an
but I
apology.
want you to listen to this apology.
Maybe Jason, you first to quarters and a response, and we'll move on with Sunday afternoon football.
I thought we had moved on home. You want to do it on air, do you?
Well, we just...
Well, I apologise to Q. I threw a bit of rice and I didn't mean to upset him, so I apologise. That's a heartfelt apology.
The apology's funnier too.
That's an apology.
That's disingenuous
apologised
apology.
twice in the apology.
That was contempt.
That was disingenuous, Jason.
I threw a bit of rice.
But we got on great quarters. It was one incident.
Are we doing this on air as well?
There
Are we?
was a bit of a build up to that, though, wasn't there? That was escalating over a few weeks.
No,
I
over
remember
one
that.
issue, over one
There was
issue,
one
though.
particular issue. wasn't
Jonathan
there?
Hay, wasn't it?
No, but it was a players' welfare, so I won't go into it.